Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chip Mahoney. I'm the XchangeCore project manager. I'll be filling in today as best I can for Jim, who is somewhere out in the Utah desert. But he'll be back at the next scheduled call in 2 weeks. The topic today is XchangeCore, the XchangeCore open source library. Part of the XchangeCore transition to an open source community is the connector code, and we're going to talk about that today. So topics, we'll skip around the country. That's really Jim's gig, but we'll give you an operational and system view of XchangeCore. We'll talk about connectors and how they work, at least at the high level with XchangeCore. Show you where you can find documents and training materials on the XchangeCore website, and then talk about some of the specific pieces of XchangeCore code we have on GitHub and how you can get that, as well as the XchangeCore installation package. So from an operational viewpoint, so you can share situation awareness and incident information, as I said, across the disparate systems and organizations. We use a variety of industry standard interfaces. And ultimately, what you're sharing is common operational data. We share that common operational data into your systems that then can take that data and make your common operational picture. So there's not one picture of the incident. There's not one answer from an end user perspective, but we provide that common data that you can then use to create that common operational picture. Moving on then to the system view, this illustrates how all of the XchangeCore piece parts fit together to enable that operational need. This is a fairly busy chart, so I'll start in the middle with the XchangeCore services, if you will. We have two types of services: XchangeCore domain services and infrastructure services. The domain services really form the interface with your applications, the web services. Those are supported underneath the hood, if you will, with our infrastructure services. That's the guts of orchestrating and sharing and routing information. That's how we enable all of the sharing of information. We then have components that attach to those services. Starting off on the right, we have the OpenFire XMPP server. That enables our core-to-core communications using the XMPP standard. That's how the various XchangeCore servers talk to each other. We use OpenDJ as our LDAP so that all of the connections with the XchangeCore are authenticated against locally managed usernames and passwords. Down in the lower left then is our database. We use Microsoft SQL database. We've migrated from Exist, which is an XML database, to Microsoft SQL. It provided an easier transition into folks in the federal government that have enterprise Microsoft SQL licenses and want to harden databases and things like that. So we've moved fairly recently to the Microsoft SQL database. Then moving up to the presentation layer, we have standard feeds coming out of the XchangeCore server for KML and RSS. So if you have a GIS viewer, you can connect to the core very easily, and that includes Google Earth, which we use quite a bit. We have mobile apps and sample code for mobile apps that can connect your mobile application into a core if you like. We have a management console, which is more for administrative management of the console, managing users, managing the various information that's stored on the core, restarting, etc. And then applications can connect as well. Servers can connect a variety of ways. We'll get into that in a little bit. Moving then down to the data layer, that's where we talk about the types of information that is shared through XchangeCore. These various data sources connect via connectors. Feeds are standard SOAP interfaces, etc. And all of that provides the data that goes into XchangeCore and then is shared out. all of that sharing, of course, is done in accordance with information sharing rules that you control locally with your XchangeCore. As I go through this, if anybody has any questions, please speak up. I want to make sure this isn't just a one-way lecture. Let's see if I missed anything on this. Good. So we'll move on now to the connectors, which is really the meat of today's presentation. So connectors connect the XchangeCore with your applications. They do essentially two things. They translate your application data in and out of the XchangeCore standard data. And they also then connect to the various XchangeCore web services to either provide the data to XchangeCore or to consume data from XchangeCore. So once that's set up, then you can connect to an XchangeCore. You're authenticated against that XchangeCore using SSL over HTTPS. Again, we're authenticating you against the local LDAP with username and passwords. So standardized data then originates from the application after it passes through the connector, goes into XchangeCore, and then in accordance with various information sharing rules, it's passed on to other applications through their connectors. Receiving applications can then consume that standardized data, visualize it. Some might modify it and update it. The connectors then provide that updated data back to XchangeCore. XchangeCore keeps that data aggregated with other similar data, specifically all data that is related to an incident is connected to that, is attached to that incident, and it's then shared back out. So XchangeCore then distributes the modified data, and what you really then is you have two-way collaborative sharing. So fractional data. What do we mean by fractional data? As an application owner, you may have quite a bit of data in a CAD application. For instance, you might have the incident, you might have the incident type and other location, other information about the incident. You might have the squad car that responded to the incident, but you might also then have information about the officers in the squad car, what's their vacation, when was the last time they discharged their weapon, what training have they had, how many sick days, etc. All of that sensitive data, and I realize that was just one example, and so bear with me on that, but all of that detailed data isn't really of use when you're responding to an incident. So for XchangeCore, we've adopted this fractional data. The jurisdiction, the end user application, owns the detailed data to manage the response. When you make your connection with XchangeCore, you can then pick off the information that you want to share. If you look at the information that's required for an incident, it's very high level. We don't need to drill way down into the sensitive data. So the XchangeCore work product then consists of a fraction of that detailed data, the fractional data that's shared through XchangeCore, that is enough to manage the relationship among response organizations with respect to an incident. XchangeCore then automatically creates digest data, that's summary information that's based on the UCORE standard. It gives you the who, what, when, and where about the incident, again, without the details. Metadata then provides information about that work product, versioning, behind-the-scenes information for XchangeCore and the computing environment. So that fractional data is then composed using defined data exchange standards. XML is the standard language. NEAM is the Exchange Dictionary, and we use a variety of standards relevant to the emergency management community. Underneath that, we have the EDXL suite of standards, CAP included, and then the OGC standards dominate, but we have others as well. So moving on to Connector 101 then. In the next several slides, we'll show how these connectors connect to XchangeCore. If you start follow the numbers like a count by numbers, the first thing that happens is an incident management application creates an incident that's shared to the XchangeCore. XchangeCore creates the default work products for an incident, which are the incident command structure work product, the map work product, and the incident work product, and notifies other applications that are on the whitelist, if you will, that there's a new work product, there are a new series of work products, a new incident has been added to the core. That application can then go and get that incident and load it into its viewer. Other applications can then add information to an incident by adding new work products or updating the work products that are there. Again, following the numbers, the planning application has received the incident, and they understand that there's an evacuation route that they can provide as situational awareness back to the EOC. So they add that evacuation route to the map work product. That work product is associated with the incident, passed back to the XchangeCore server, and then other applications that are on the network are notified that there is a new work product, or that a work product has been updated in this case to show the evacuation route. So connectors can connect with an application in a couple of ways. A connector can be integrated directly into the application, and the connection is then made with XchangeCore. The connector can also be created as a separate process using the application's API. And this provides you a little bit more flexibility if necessary. You can put that connector on the same physical server as your application. You can put it on a different server, on its own server. So they're on a virtual server. So there are a variety of ways that this can be configured, and anyone's IT folks who do any development work will be able to explain that. But in the end, the connector is just hitting web services on the application and hitting web services on the XchangeCore. So as long as there aren't any firewall rules, we're very flexible on how the connectors are physically configured. So as I mentioned briefly earlier, the connectors are the front line of data dissemination control. First of all, if you have 100 data fields and you only want to share 5, configure your connector to only share those 5 data fields. The other 95 data fields will stay private to you. They won't ever be accessed. Similarly, you can set up your connector to receive information, to do a read-only connector with the XchangeCore. You could connect it to send only to the XchangeCore, or you could have the fuller experience where you've got a two-way collaboration with that XchangeCore sending and receiving information. And you can also then set up your interface such that the data is filtered. So how does that work then? The applications interact with XchangeCore through the connector. The connectors, as we showed earlier, connect to the various XchangeCore services. They create work products to share that atomic element of information sharing, and so in the middle there, connectors do a variety of things. They can create, update, close, or archive work products. They can send an EDXL RM message to a resource instance that is located or that is known to the XchangeCore server. They can get various lists. They can get messages. They can read messages. They can parse XML, and they can determine work product types. They can get associated work products. Find out what is associated with an incident. This is part of that filtering. So all of that can be configured to meet the needs of your application. Start up at the bottom. Once you start up the notification service, you then register with the notification service so that you can get notifications. You're known as a resource instance, so you're associated with specific work product types, and you're notified if those work product types are added or changed. So moving on to then something a little bit more practical as far as accessing the XchangeCore connectors and the documents that are associated with them. If you go to the XchangeCore website at www.exchangespace.org, we have documents and training materials located there. If you click on the XchangeCore button, underneath that you'll have documents and training related to the XchangeCore software. Right now we have two. We have the XchangeCore System Installation Plan. That describes all the hardware and networking environment and configurations needed to install XchangeCore, and it describes how you install the software itself. It's a step-by-step process. We also have the architecture description document, which provides more detailed description of the architecture and its components and how things work. If you click on the Exchange Code button next to the XchangeCore button, you also have documents and training located there, but they're more for how the services work, how the code works, more technical in nature. So we have our XchangeCore service overview and key API operations, and we also have a series, I believe, of quick start guides as well. So moving on then to our GitHub source code library. You can access GitHub by entering the information there at github.com, XchangeCore with an X. Don't forget to leave off the E. And that will get you onto our XchangeCore hub, our XchangeCore GitHub. And you'll see the various projects listed there. We've got the connector projects or repositories. You can click on one of those. Here we'll open up the connector GORSS adapter. And it will give some information about that adapter. There's the README file with everything. We've got the documents there. If you want to download that piece of sample code for your own use, you click the download zip in your lower right. So then, what do we have on our library right now? We have several connectors written in Java. We have a util repository or project that gives the basics of using the Spring web service framework to send requests to a core. We have the async code that gives you the full life cycle of creating an interface with an XchangeCore, from creating a resource profile, an instance, to processing notifications, and then the asynchronous responses as well. We have the RM project for resource management. Work product submitter. That allows you to submit a binary work product like a document or a PDF file to the core and associate that with an incident. And it also allows you to submit map layers to the map view context work product of the selected incident. So that's really good for that collaboration where someone else has created an incident and you would like to add to it in a collaborative fashion. We have work product viewers, which allows you to view the various binary work products that have been associated with an incident. With Richmond Polar, this was developed for specific use, but we decided to post it nevertheless because it may be of use to folks in your jurisdiction. Specifically, this Richmond, Virginia has exposed their traffic accidents via web services. So this Polar accesses that web service and pulls those traffic accidents from Richmond into an XchangeCore and creates incidents with each of those. And then as they disappear from the Richmond web service, they disappear from the core as well. All of that is done by translating that web service down at Richmond into an XchangeCore SOAP request. We have a CAP alert viewer, which is uses GWT GUI to submit a CAP alert to XchangeCore. We have a Del.dot project that's similar to Richmond in that it's polling the Delaware Department of Transportation's feed and creates incidents on the XchangeCore and creates updates and deletes as well as they disappear from the Del.dot site. We have a GRSS adapter, which is a very flexible tool, GUI-based, that allows you to identify GRSS URLs and add those, type those in to the GUI, and then create incidents or alert work products on an XchangeCore. Very helpful. A lot of folks have GRSS feeds these days. WebEOC. This is a big one. So we've provided a framework with a variety of connector types to different WebEOC boards. Those who are WebEOC experts will understand the flexibility of WebEOC. You can create any type of board you want. Similarly, then you can create any type of interface with XchangeCore that you want. We have a variety of examples in there, and we could probably explain those a little bit as well to those who are specifically interested. It looks like we've included 2 boards in this package: the incident board and the position log board, both of which I believe are default boards or close enough to default boards in the typical WebEOC package. And then finally, we have a CSV project where we monitor a directory for a CSV file, and then we consume that CSV file and create incidents, one incident for each row in the file, if you think of a spreadsheet. So that's very useful if you have an application that can export a CSV. You could do it manually or in an automated fashion, but if you create a directory, you can put a CSV file in there, again, either automated or manually, and then the connector will monitor that every so many minutes based on configuration setting, and add the incidents to the XchangeCore. So all of that is Java. We also have some .NET code, but we're essentially a Java shop. Our C# sample code, we give examples of the complete life cycle as we did with Java. So we don't have the specific projects like we do with Java, but nevertheless we've got the complete life cycle, and that can be adapted to suit your individual needs. Any questions on those, on the library overview, on the connectors that we have available, or any questions about connectors we might not have available?
Oh, hi, this is Sue. I'd be interested in hearing more about the WebEOC one.
Sure. I think probably the best thing to do on that would be to set up a call with or exchange an email with Daphne Harrell, who's on our team. The WebEOC, again, is so flexible with their configuration and the various boards and the various options. We've done quite a bit of work with WebEOC, and so I suspect we can suit your needs. Her email address is HurrellD, HURRELLD, at leidos.com.
Okay, repeat that.
Sure. Hurrell, HURRELLD, as in Delta.
Okay.
At, it's leidos.com, leidos.com.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
So shoot her an email. She'll be happy to point you in the right direction.
Okay.
Any other questions? So the next piece of the open source library is how to contribute back to the community. You have to do a little bit more. You have to set up an account with GitHub. Very easy to do. And you then have to clone the project, and then once you clone the project, you're able then to make a code change on your local repository, and then you make a pull request, and that'll inform the. I think you post it, and Daphne, if you're on the call, I think you post your change to the repository, and then we get a pull request that notifies our team of the code change, and we can review it, evaluate it, and then incorporate it into the baseline at a future date.
That's correct. You have to commit to your local GitHub repository. Then you can do a pull request.
So to avoid going into the gory details about exactly how to work with GitHub, many may know already, but there's some references. Roger Dudler has come up with a pretty good starting guide that'll explain the basics of GitHub. If you want a little bit more in depth, you can go to the middle link, and then GitHub has their official document. But there are any number of resources online that will explain exactly how GitHub works and how you can configure your local repository to work with GitHub. Moving on then to the XchangeCore installation package. The XchangeCore server itself can be downloaded from our distribution site, which is https, as you can read, distribution.xchangecore.lidos.com. It's available at no cost to responder agencies. We do require a username and password to access this code. As we move forward and move more toward the open source model, I suspect we'll be posting the installation on GitHub, but stay tuned for that news later in the early fall. So then the next few webinar sessions, we'll be talking more about XchangeCore and how to get involved. On the 11th of September, we'll be talking about the cloud. On the 25th, we'll be talking more about the community. And then October 8th, we'll be releasing XchangeCore 2.0 with some exciting new capabilities. And so you'll have to stand by to hear all about them on October 8th. I believe that's all I have today. With that, we'll have open mic. The microphone is open with any comments or questions.
Gerald, this is John Black out of Washington County in Hillsboro, Oregon. Am I coming through okay?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. I'm curious from the visualization aspect. I'm familiar with GitHub. I'm familiar with Neem, XchangeCore, prior with usage. Any look into things like Ozone and/or Python for the visualization aspects of the data? In addition, since they're already on GitHub, in other words, I see the connector applications, but I didn't see any of the follow-on things talking about potentially widgets or other types of a library of visualization that I could add to my COP/UDOP.
Well, XchangeCore isn't really in the business of the visualization. That's really on the application end. However, if there are some widgets that people would like to contribute back to the open source community, widget being another word for connector in my mind, and I apologize to the purists who may disagree. But any type of connectors anybody would like to that they have developed that they would like to contribute back to the open source community, that's why we've set it up. We'd be happy to schedule a time on one of our webinars for you to even talk about it. So we aren't focused per se on creating new viewing applications. We're really more focused on providing the information, or making the information available to those applications via some sort of connector.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Good question. Anyone else? All right. I think that ends the call for today. Thank you, everyone. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of your summer. Has a nice Labor Day weekend, and I believe we will see you the first week back after Labor Day.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.